I was 14 years old when they told me I was getting married. Not in 5 years. Not when I turned 18 in 3 months. To a man I'd met twice. A man who was 23 years old. I was still playing with my younger siblings, still braiding my little sister's hair. Still a child in every way that mattered. But in my Amish community, I was old enough to be a wife, old enough to share a bed with a grown man. Old enough to start having babies. My name is Emma, and today I'm talking about something that happens far more than anyone wants to admit. Child marriage in Amish communities. Girls as young as 14, sometimes 13, being married off to men in their 20s, 30s, even older. And it's all perfectly legal in many states. Content warning. This video discusses child marriage, young pregnancy, and the treatment of minors in closed religious communities. This is educational documentary content based on first-hand experiences. Resources are linked below. Let me be clear from the start. This isn't ancient history. This is happening right now in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Indiana, in dozens of Amish settlements across America. While the rest of the country debates the appropriate age for getting a driver's license, Amish girls are becoming wives before they finish 8th grade. And nobody stops it, because it's hidden behind religious freedom and parental rights. Here's how it happens. In Amish culture, formal education ends at 8th grade. You're 13, maybe 14 years old, and school is over. For boys, that means starting work, farming, construction, carpentry, learning a trade. For girls, it means preparing to be a wife, cooking, cleaning, sewing, child care. Your entire purpose becomes finding a husband and starting a family. Not in the distant future, soon, very soon. Courtship starts young. A boy, or more often, a man, expresses interest. Maybe he's been watching you at church. Maybe your families know each other. Maybe the parents arrange it behind the scenes, then present it like it was his idea. You're 14, he's 22. Or you're 15, he's 28. The age gap doesn't matter to anyone but you. And your feelings don't matter much either. I remember the day my father told me. I was helping my mother with laundry, hanging sheets on the line. He called me into the barn, said a good man from a neighboring district had asked about me, said he had a farm, came from a respected family, was ready to settle down. I asked how old he was. My father hesitated. Old enough to provide, he said. That's when I knew he was much older. I found out later he was 23, nearly a decade older than me. I was 14. I asked if I had a choice. My father looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Of course you have a choice, he said. You can say yes, or you can say yes. He smiled like it was a joke. It wasn't. Refusing would bring shame on the family, disobedience, questions about my character. Why would I refuse a good match? Was I prideful, rebellious, worldly? The courtship was brief. A few chaperoned visits, sitting in my parents' living room, making awkward conversation while my mother hovered nearby. He asked about my cooking skills, my sewing, whether I liked children. I was too nervous to say much, too young to understand what I was really being asked, which was, are you ready to be my wife in every sense? Are you ready to submit to me? Are you ready to have my babies? 3 months later, we were married. The ceremony was long, traditional, solemn, hundreds of guests. I wore a dark blue dress, white apron, prayer cap. I looked like a child playing dress-up because that's what I was, a child. I stood next to this man, this stranger, and promised lifelong obedience, promised to submit to his authority, promised till death do us part. I was 14 years old. The wedding night was traumatic. I had no education about what would happen. No one explained. My mother had whispered something vague about wifely duties, and that it gets easier. That was it. I was terrified. He was a grown man. I was a child. There was no gentleness, no patience, no consideration for my fear or pain. It was expected. I was his wife now. My body belonged to him. That's what I'd been taught. I got pregnant immediately. At 14. My body was barely finished developing. I was still growing, still a child myself. And now I was carrying a baby. The pregnancy was difficult. My hips were too narrow. I was sick constantly, exhausted, scared. I had my first baby 3 weeks after I turned 15. Labor was excruciating. No hospital, no pain medication. Just a midwife, and my mother telling me to push. I tore badly, bled heavily, thought I might die. I had 4 more babies by the time I was 21, 5 children, before I was old enough to legally drink. My body never recovered. The damage from having babies so young, so close together, left me with permanent health problems. Prolapse, chronic pain issues I still deal with years later. My childhood ended at 14. My adolescence was spent pregnant, nursing, changing diapers, trying to be a mother when I was still a child myself. This wasn't unique to me. I knew girls married at 13, pregnant at 14, some married even younger in the strictest communities. Pennsylvania has no minimum marriage age if parents consent and a judge approves. Ohio only recently raised it to 17. Many states have loopholes. Religious communities exploit them. Parents sign off. Judges rubber stamp. And girls become wives before they understand what that means. The men aren't always predatory in the way we think of predators. They're following cultural norms. They were raised in this system. Their fathers did the same, their grandfathers. It's tradition. But that doesn't make it right. A 14-year-old cannot truly consent to marriage, cannot fully understand what she's agreeing to. The power imbalance between a young teenage girl and an adult man is massive, even if they're both Amish, even if it's normal in that culture. Some girls try to refuse. I knew one who ran away the week before her wedding. They found her, brought her back, and the marriage happened anyway. Her parents told her she'd shame the family. The bishop counseled her on obedience. She had no choice, no agency, no protection. Leaving is nearly impossible for these young wives. By 16, they have babies, no education beyond 8th grade, no job skills, no money, nowhere to go. Trapped in marriages they never wanted, with men they barely know, in communities that will shun them if they leave. The isolation is complete. I got out at 23. 9 years of marriage, 5 children, a lifetime of trauma compressed into less than a decade. Leaving meant losing my kids temporarily, fighting for custody, starting over with nothing, learning to read at an adult level because 8th grade education wasn't enough, processing the reality that my childhood was stolen. Child marriage isn't a relic of the past. It's happening now in Amish communities, in other fundamentalist religious groups across America. An estimated 300,000 children were married in the U.S. between 2000 and 2018. Most were girls, many to adult men. It's legal because of loopholes, parental consent laws, and judicial approval systems that don't protect children. The harm is measurable. Girls married young have higher rates of domestic violence, lower educational attainment, more health problems, higher poverty rates, increased mental health issues. Their children face more challenges. The cycle continues. Some states are finally closing loopholes, raising minimum ages to 18 with no exceptions. But many haven't. And in closed religious communities, cultural practices continue regardless of laws. Enforcement is minimal, oversight non-existent. If you're a young person in a closed community being pressured to marry, please know you deserve a childhood. You deserve education. You deserve to choose when and who you marry. There are organizations that help people leave resources for those escaping child marriage. You're not alone. I was 14. I should have been playing with friends, dreaming about the future, being a kid. Instead, I was handed to a grown man and told it was God's will. It wasn't God's will. It was a broken system that values tradition over children's well-being. This is my truth and the truth of too many girls who never got to be.